If you've ever begged a man to change, to see your worth, to just meet you halfway, this is for you. You know that exhaustion, don't you? That bone-deep tiredness that comes from explaining the same thing over and over. You've poured your heart out. You've been patient. You've given him the benefit of the doubt. You've loved harder, tried more, and waited longer than you probably should have. And still, nothing changed. Here's what I need you to hear. What if the problem wasn't him? What if it was your standards, and how low they've been? Stay with me. Because what I'm about to share with you is going to flip everything you thought you knew about love, change, and why the men in your life have been getting away with less than you deserve. Let me tell you something that might sting a little, but it's going to set you free. Men don't change because of words. They change because of energy. You can talk until you're blue in the face. You can cry, plead, explain your feelings in 20 different ways. You can send the long text messages at 2 a.m. You can try to make him understand. But here's the brutal truth: people don't rise to meet love. They rise to meet standards. Think about it like this: why would he bring you steak if you've accepted crumbs for years? Why would he put in effort when lack of effort has worked just fine? I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying this because I want you to understand the game you've been playing, and how to change the rules. When you operate from a place of low standards, you're essentially telling the universe, and him, this is what I'm worth. This is what I'll accept. And baby, he believes you. The shift happens when you stop trying to convince him of your value and start embodying it. When your energy changes, when your tolerance level changes, when your standards change, watch what happens. He either rises to meet you there, or he reveals that he was never capable of it in the first place. Either way, you win. Let's talk psychology for a second. Human beings, by nature, will do the minimum that's required. This isn't because people are inherently bad, it's just how we're wired. We conserve energy. We take the path of least resistance. And in relationships, if low investment is getting results, why would anyone change? Every time you've been understanding when he canceled plans last minute, you trained him. Every time you accepted the apology without seeing changed behavior, you trained him. Every time you stayed silent when something bothered you because you didn't want to seem difficult or dramatic, you trained him. You're training him how to treat you. Not intentionally. Not maliciously. But you are. Here's what you need to write down: what you tolerate becomes your standard. Read that again. What you tolerate becomes your standard. When you're always available, always understanding, always forgiving, just one more time, you're teaching him what he can get away with. And I'm not saying you should be cold or play games. I'm saying there's a massive difference between being loving and being a doormat. Remember this: every time you stay quiet, you teach him you're okay with it. Think about the women in your life who command respect in their relationships. The ones whose partners show up consistently. What's different about them? They didn't beg for respect. They expected it. They didn't negotiate their worth. They knew it. And when someone didn't meet their standards, they didn't stick around hoping and waiting, they moved accordingly. Now let's get real about where you might be sabotaging yourself. These are the patterns I see over and over again, and I need you to be honest with yourself about which ones you're doing. Mistake number 1, over-explaining. You're trying to make him understand why what he did was wrong. You're giving him context, background, emotional depth. Stop. If a grown man needs you to explain why treating you poorly is unacceptable, he's not confused, he's comfortable. You're not asking for the moon. You're asking for basic respect and effort. Mistake number 2, giving ultimatums but not following through. How many times have you said, if you do this one more time, I'm done, and then you weren't done? He heard you. He just didn't believe you. Because your actions told a different story than your words. Empty threats don't create change. They create a pattern where he knows exactly how much he can push before you'll fold. Mistake number 3, accepting apologies without changed behavior. "I'm sorry" means nothing if it's followed by the same behavior next week. Words are easy. Change is hard. And you've been accepting words while ignoring the absence of action. An apology without change is just manipulation. Mistake number 4, prioritizing his comfort over your truth. You don't speak up because you don't want to upset him. You suppress your feelings because you're afraid of conflict. You make yourself smaller so he can stay comfortable. But what about your comfort? What about your peace? Let me tell you something with all the love in my heart, you're not asking for too much, you're asking the wrong person. If he can change his schedule for work, if he can show up on time for his friends, if he can be respectful and considerate with his mom, then he can change for you. He just chooses not to. And that choice? That tells you everything you need to know. Alright, enough about what's been going wrong. Let's talk about how to actually shift this. I'm going to walk you through a framework that's going to change your life if you let it. Step 1, Awareness. Get a journal. Right now. I want you to write down every single thing you've accepted in your relationship that made you feel small, unseen, disrespected, or undervalued. Don't filter it. Don't minimize it. Write it all down. The missed dates. The broken promises. The times he chose everything else over you. The ways he speaks to you that you'd never tolerate from a stranger. Get it all out. This isn't about dwelling on the past. This is about seeing clearly what your baseline has been. You can't change what you won't acknowledge. Step 2, Clarity. Now flip the page. I want you to write down what you actually want in a relationship. Not what you think you can get. Not what seems realistic based on what you've experienced. What do you actually want? How do you want to feel? How do you want to be treated? What does love look like when it's healthy, respectful, and reciprocal? Get specific. I want someone who keeps their word. I want someone who makes me a priority, not an option. I want someone who communicates openly instead of shutting down. I want someone who shows up consistently, not just when it's convenient. Step 3, Voice. Now here's where most women mess this up. You're going to communicate your standards clearly, once. Not as a negotiation. Not as a plea. As a statement of fact. It sounds like this: I need consistency in this relationship. I need someone who follows through on their commitments. I need open communication when there's a problem. If that's not something you can offer, I understand, but I can't continue like this. Notice what's missing. Begging. Convincing. Over-explaining. You're stating what you need. Period. Step 4, Detach from the outcome. This is the hardest part and the most important part. You're not raising your standards and then sitting there watching to see if he changes. You raised them for you. You already made your decision. You're not waiting around to see if he's going to rise to the occasion, you're preparing to move forward either way. This is where your power lives. When you're truly detached from whether he changes or not, that's when everything shifts. Because you're no longer operating from fear of loss. You're operating from self-respect. Step 5, Reinforce with action. Here's the thing nobody tells you: what you do when he tests the boundary matters more than what you say. And he will test it. He'll push. He'll see if you really mean it this time. When he shows up late without calling, you don't sit there waiting. You make other plans. When he breaks a promise, you don't give him another chance immediately. You create distance. When he speaks to you disrespectfully, you don't engage. You leave the room, end the conversation, remove your presence. Your actions are teaching him the new rules. And if he doesn't like the new rules? That's information. That's him telling you he preferred when he could do whatever he wanted with no consequences. So what actually happens when you do this? There are two possible outcomes, and I need you to understand that both of them are wins for you. Outcome 1, he steps up. When you change your energy, when you stop tolerating the bare minimum, when you start moving differently, he notices. And if he's capable of meeting you there, he will. But here's what's important to understand: if he steps up, it's not because you threatened him or manipulated him. It's because he sees the shift in you. He sees that you're serious. He sees that you're no longer available for half-hearted love. And something in him rises to meet that. The standard doesn't force him to change. The standard filters. It shows him that if he wants to be in your life, this is what's required. And if he values you, if he's capable of growth, if he actually loves you the way he says he does, he'll do the work. Outcome 2, he doesn't step up. And if he doesn't? If your raised standards make him defensive, angry, dismissive? If he tells you you're being too much or too demanding? Then beautiful, listen to me, he was never going to. You didn't lose the right person. You just sped up the inevitable. You saved yourself months or years of waiting for someone to become what they were never going to be. The right man won't be intimidated by your standards. He'll be inspired by them. He'll respect the fact that you know your worth. He'll see a woman who values herself and think, that's the kind of woman I want to build with. The standard filters, not forces. It separates the ones who are serious from the ones who just want access. And that, my love, is exactly what it's supposed to do. Now let's talk about what nobody prepares you for, the moment when you raise your standards and everything in you wants to lower them again. Because it's going to happen. You're going to feel guilty. You're going to feel like maybe you're being too harsh. You're going to miss him. You're going to wonder if you're throwing away something good. You're going to feel lonely. And that's when he might come back with just enough effort to pull you back in. That's when he might love bomb you, make promises, tell you everything you've been wanting to hear. And you're going to want to believe him so badly. Here's what you do in that moment: you pause. You breathe. You remember why you set the boundary in the first place. Try this grounding technique: put your hand on your heart. Close your eyes. And ask yourself, am I about to compromise because I genuinely see changed behavior, or am I compromising because I'm afraid of being alone? If it's fear, don't move. Stay where you are. When he tries to guilt-trip you, when he makes you feel like you're the problem for having standards, repeat this to yourself: his discomfort with my boundaries is not my responsibility. My peace is. And when you feel yourself weakening, when you want to go back to accepting less, say this out loud: I am not afraid of losing someone who isn't afraid of losing me. You want to know.